We're back, Tim.
We're back.
Macho Theater. He's Tim. I'm Ronnie. And we're here to talk another action movie. Today, we're going to discuss 1986, Let's Get Harry. Tim, what'd you think? Tim, did you even watch it? I'm not sure it's been 100 minutes.
So here's the deal. I've never seen this movie. This movie was incredibly good. This movie was fantastic. It was so good. I actually did all this research. I looked into it. I was like, how much money did this movie make? The only box office gross that I can find is $140,000, which is criminal.
Yes.
And I looked at 1986 and, Top Gun, Crocodile Dundee, Karate Kid 2, Alien, Star Trek 4, Ferris Bueller, Cobra, Short Circuit, Rocky 4. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of competition in 86 for this movie to be good. And the only thing I could reason out was this. There's no reason this movie should be as good as it was. But the actors that they got to play every single part completely nailed it. They were 100%
in.
No one mailed it in. You all could tell that they thought this was going to be a big deal. It was totally character driven, which usually I skip ahead on these Macho Theater movies where I have to watch the character development and stuff. That's this whole movie. It's great. The only issue with any of the characters I have is Mark Harmon.
Yes.
Why was it not a story about him rescuing his younger brother and you just flip those two parts? Because that guy needed to be in the movie more.
Mark Harmon, here's how I figured it out. And that's what I was thinking. This is peak Mark Harmon. This is right after Summer School, I believe. I'm sure he's been in other movies that are great, but to me, it's Summer School, and that's it for Mark Harmon. Mark Harmon is absolutely perfect in this movie, and I think getting him...
You mean that looks-wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, getting him was like, okay, we got Mark Harmon for 2 weeks. We can say Mark Harmon, let's get Harry. And they could put him in the trailer, and then he's beginning, middle, end, and you can say Mark Harmon's in your movie. I think he was the star power to try to get people into the actual theaters. I think he probably did them a favor. They threw him a little bit of cash. He showed up.
All these guys are 80. It's a movie chock full of 80s bit part guys. At this point, every one of these dudes is a known quantity. It's got Glenn Frey or Fry, depending on if you're an Eagles fan or not. He's the cokehead, if you don't know.
Wait a minute, Glenn Frey. Is he known? Is he a known person, the cokehead, Kurt?
Eagles, the band. Take it easy.
Really?
Yes. So he was in an episode. Here's a connection I made because Chicken Guy, the weapons dealer, the Hispanic dude.
Okay, yes.
With glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, where have I seen this dude before? He was on Miami Vice. Glenn Frey, also guest star on Miami Vice. So, Frey tried to get into acting after the Eagles broke up.
So Spence is an actual...
He's a bona fide. He didn't need any money from this. He was very rich when they were making this movie.
Unbelievable. I did not know that. I had him listed in my notes as cokehead. Which was
he knew how to do it, I'm sure.
Which was a unbelievable choice for this character in this movie, because when you first, obviously all these guys work in a factory together in small town Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
But let me hit the plot really quick.
Yeah.
Beginning of the movie, Mark Harmon, being Mark Harmon, him and an ambassador for the United States are cutting the ribbon or twisting the knob, whatever you want to say, at some dam opening. And here come the Colombians to ambush and kidnap them.
How did they get in with guns? I think there's too many entrances to that water plant. If you give the water plant guys guns, it prevents this from happening.
They just came out of the forest, which was attached right there next to the water plant. so the movies have got a real simple plot. We're trying to get Harry back. The government won't do anything. So his brother and the friends decide they're going to hire a mercenary and go try to rescue Harry.
And that's that. The movie almost lost me when it went totally into fantasy land about these machine shop dudes are about to go to Colombia and rescue their friend from a drug lord.
But you thought it was just going to be them?
It totally worked. Well, I just thought, I mean, how unbelievable is that? Like, even in 1986, I mean, that's a pretty crazy premise for your action adventure movie.
Well, I love how they throw politics into it. They go, Reagan just blew up 7 countries. We got to go in there. We got to kill those Mexicans.
Look at the Marines. Like the Mexicans. Oh, they're Colombian.
So these characters, you're absolutely right. You nailed it at the beginning of the review. These characters are all awesome.
Fully fleshed out without wasting a lot of time. You know exactly who they are and what they're about. It's good stuff. Corey,
a.k.a. the guy from 16 Candles and Vision Quest, yes. He is Mark Harmon's younger brother, and you can already tell they're all coming back from the plant to have some kind of welcome home Harry party. They've got a keg. And awesome man move, by the way, is Biff Tannen always having the top down on the convertible, even though it's snowing and below zero.
Yes, great move.
So they arrive, and Harry's dad's there. Corey and Harry's dad's there to tell them they got Harry. He tried to fight back, and they got him.
He's been kidnapped. I don't know.
Corey is definitely the black sheep.
Because Harry, and this what's great is just from Mark Harmon being Mark Harmon. Yes, he's obviously the better brother. Like, he's this great stand-up dude because he looks like it. Like, I mean, they're both movie star looks guys, but you're not pulling off a Mark Harmon.
Nobody is touching Mark Harmon at the aura of Mark Harmon in this movie.
Nope, nobody.
So they concoct a plan to hire a mercenary and go into the Colombian jungle and find Harry.
Scene, mercenary hunting. That was it. That was my favorite scene.
Every macho theater movie has to have a training or some kind of action montage. Let's Get Harry gives you the mercenary search montage.
Is there a Facebook page? Like how did they contact all of these mercenaries?
Great question, because I wondered the same thing. You've got to go to a lot of effort to try to find these guys in 1986. They were talking about, what was the magazine they were talking about? It wasn't Field and Stream.
Guns and Ammo.
Guns and Ammo. There's ads in the back. Need a mercenary?
We got to catch fish in Bogota, Colombia now.
The first guy they bring in is immediately like, and they're meeting in a barn in the middle of nowhere, which is great.
Yeah. Talk about the first guy.
He's no names. Call me Rambo.
So the whole scene is comic relief, but that's not what this movie's about. Like, it's really weird. You could have actually cut, not that I want them to cut it, but that had nothing to do with anything else. Like, I thought the tone of the movie was going to be totally different just because of this scene.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get a little bit more humor as well, but this is the only humor.
Oh, that's it.
In the movie.
Serious.
And
after
I think
Robert Duvall walks in.
They had to add it in.
Of honor.
They had to add it in there, I guess, so it just wouldn't be way too serious the whole time. The second guy is like a pill head. He takes his pills right there.
And washes it down with the flask.
This one guy, though, he's like doing the butterfly knife, and then he switches hands real quick and does this right here because he cut his hand. But he
didn't catch that.
And then, he's like, and he goes, also, I carry a knife for close combat, and he throws it across the barn and sticks in the door.
He's very good at that.
Which totally goes against him having the butterfly knife and just cutting his finger with it.
Well, he's good at throwing them, not flipping them around.
And then, I don't know if you picked this up, the third guy that they talked to was Napoleon from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And he was also the guy that was in the bathtub the whole time during the Truman Show.
Dude, I had no idea.
He was like, great. Let the medics sort him out or something like that.
Even like the no-name like goons for the drug lord are guys that have been in 100 films you've seen. Almost every character in this movie is somebody you've seen before.
Robert Duvall comes walking in the back door after they've decided there's nobody out there but freaks and drug heads. And he pretty much, they said, what's your code name? He goes, Norm. And he pretty much tells them, look, we got to get in there and get this drug dealer's got your brother. And he's going to charge them $40,000.
Pretty cheap.
Now, the whole time they've been talking about this, I'm trying to get the names right. Kurt and Spence have been on the outs about this. Kurt, definitely.
Which one's Top Gun? Which one's Slider?
Kurt. He's a gigantic coward.
Got you.
They have to convince him to do this.
Or Glenn Fry isn't going to go along with it.
Or the cokehead is not going to go. And here's what I figured happened, because they're not on the plane good, and he decides he doesn't want to go. And then they almost get killed, and he jumps back on the plane. I figure he got the call that, hey, you're in Top Gun. And he's like, okay, guys, I got to cut this movie short.
We got to do something about, when did Top Gun come out?
86. So it would have been
this movie came out. So this was released late 86, October.
So filmed
all
in
those
85.
other movies that came before it that made people think, well, I'm not going to go see this movie, were way earlier. Like way earlier. I feel like if this movie would have came out at the beginning of the year, people wouldn't have been so blown up on awesome 80s types movies. You know what I mean?
The guy that plays Kurt, he's got a pretty good list of movies. 3 right off the bat. I'm going to include Let's Get Harry, but he's in Top Gun and he's in Terminator.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm missing something. But
I looked at his too, because I was like, I wonder what happened to this guy. And I forgot. So this is a great podcast. We do all the research.
Gary Busey is in this movie. He plays Jack, the car salesman. He owns his own car lot. He far and away steals this movie with a little bit of screen time that he has in it. Because he comes walking. First off, you see him on this commercial where he's like, come on down here and make your own deal. And he's like throwing his lip up and stuff like that. Then he walks into the bar whenever they're discussing how they're going to actually hire a mercenary. He walks into the bar like he owns the place, tells them, hey, I don't know what's happening with this country. They can't go in and save Harry. Everybody in this town loves Harry. Y'all put them on my tab. And he leaves out with that girl making a face at him behind it.
Hey, doesn't he need a new truck? Tell him to come see me. Make his own deal.
So once they finally decide that they're going to hire Robert Duvall, then they've got to convince Kurt so the cokehead will go, Spence. And once everybody's up, they got to go try to find money, and they go and they ask.
This movie's so crazy. Slider from Top Gun has to be convinced so a member of the Eagles will join them in rescuing Mark Harmon. That is a fantastic freaking sentence.
We got to go save my brother from the Colombian jungle. There's only one person that can finance this mission, Gary Busey.
So, the car dealer.
So they go in there, Gary Busey. And Glenn Fry totally works an angle on him because he tells him he doesn't have $40,000 to give for this mission. And he's like, hey, man, you kill all these animals? And he jumps up and he's like, yeah, $1,500 to mount these and even more for this animal. He goes, so it must cost you a lot of money to go on these trips. And he's like, you got me.
Let me stop here. So there's brief glimpses of the bad sides, like the fatal flaws of these characters. Like what's his face who gets terrified when the shooting starts? What's his name?
Yes, Biff Tannen. His name's
Biff
Bob.
Tannen. And, Glenn Frey's got the coke problem. And Busey gets a little weird with the female prisoner, but they're all pretty good guys. Like, because they do the whole thing. I thought the whole mounting scene, like where he talks about the heads that have been mounted.
Yeah,
it not only traps him, but it illustrates that he's a darn good shot. Like, so when he says, if I'm paying for a hunting trip, I'm going on it. And he becomes part of the crew. You're like, well, okay, yeah. So this is the guy that can shoot. Like it works. I thought that was cool.
See, I never put those two together. I just put that he wanted to go where the action was because it was his money.
No, the dude could fire a gun.
When they actually everything goes wrong for them on this trip. First off, the plane lands and they have to spend $3,000 on a piece of crap car. Before they can get in the car good, here come the local militia or the local army They get chased down. They have to throw their guns out the window. And for some reason, Kurt's wondering, why do you have all these guns? Did he really think they were just going to walk in there and they're going to hand Mark Harmon over to him?
Yeah.
No.
Weird that they waited till they got there to do the gun training, but we'll get to that later, I guess. Anyway.
Well, we can talk about it right now. When he finally does get the weapons, because they go through a whole process. They have to buy more weapons after they throw theirs out. They have to pay the military that chased them down right off the bat and ruins their car. When they get into town, he finds one of his, I guess you'd say, contacts that says he's going to sell him guns. That leads to him being set up and arrested, where the local policemen torture them and then put them on a plane with an American representative who says they're sending them home. But Robert Duvall, Norm, is like, I'm not going. They're not going to save your brothers. If you still want to save your brother, we got to do something.
He smells through the bull crap. He's like, no, because look, Duvall has this thing about leaving too early, which you figure out later, but he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to leave them behind.
Early in the movie, an actual mercenary who plays the plane pilot that they first travel with, that asked him, hey, you been flashing that metal around again? Did you have to tell them boys how you got that metal?
Yeah.
And later in the movie, he explains that he left his men too early and he's been living with it. He lived, a bunch of them died. So that comes into play. You're absolutely right. Whenever he says, if we leave now, Harry's as good as dead.
Yeah.
So he pulls a knife and puts it to the throat of the American diplomat, and they all take turns jumping out of the plane, except Kurt, who decides he's going to go back home, a.k.a. go finish filming Top Gun. So he's not in the movie the rest of the way.
He's the wife and kids guy, right? So even, like, back what I said earlier about these guys being good dudes, you can still see it. Like, yes, he's not going to help get Harry, but the dude's got obligations. Like, he has to go.
And Bob, a.k.a. Biff Tannen, he is the tough guy. He's the assertive guy that says whatever he thinks. But you're absolutely right. Whenever they get into their first gunfight, the third time that they've been double-crossed, he sort of freezes, and while everybody else is shooting, and he just stands up and randomly starts walking, and Robert Duvall has to dive out of there and save him.
He had a Saving Private Ryan moment, where you really hate this guy for his inaction, and it cost them all.
And in the process, Robert Duvall gets killed.
Yes, which was I had no idea that was coming.
I sort of knew it was going to happen because you have to leave all those other guys out there to fend for themselves. The only problem is, after his little bit of 30-second training, these guys are blasting everybody with these Uzis. I mean, their shooting was unbelievable, especially when they get to the actual camp where they're holding Harry hostage.
In a crazy turnaround for Macho Theater, the best parts of this movie are not when they're killing people. Like, the action parts of this movie is just these machine foundry dudes who can just blow the crap out of anybody. Like, that wasn't, if it weren't for the actors in this movie giving this 100%, that would have fallen flat. But since you've come this far, like, with them, you're totally cool with it. You're like, all right, yeah, well, it's time to save Harry now. We're at the end scene. Let's rock and roll.
We haven't even talked about Carlos Ochoa
Cinco
is an amazing villain for the 35 seconds of screen time he has. First off, his outfits are amazing. They're awesome. He's got the 80s fashion to a T.
It's like, so when he's sitting there with his off-white jacket with his pink T-shirt under it, I'm like, they took Sonny Crockett from Miami Vice and just put his clothes on this dude. I also want to grow my hair out really long, even though I'm losing it up top, and just like push it back and dye the sides of it white, because that was a great look.
And his whole thing is his drug operation's been shut down in Colombia, so he's taking the U.S. ambassador, and just so happens Harry was in the wrong place, wrong time, hostage, trying to get some of his buddies or fellow diplomat, what do you call them, prisoners of war released.
Prisoner swap. He wants that prisoner swap.
So, and the U.S. does not negotiate with terrorists. They're not playing that. The chick from Predator shows up as another person that's trying to swerve them, and Gary Busey ties her down and is in the process of torturing her with an actual cigar when Corey catches him and they fight for a second. And he's like, look, just get out of here. I'm trying to say I'm sorry, okay? Get out. And she's so moved by this that she tells him exactly where Harry's at.
Yeah. No, it worked. Busey was right. He did it.
They let him and Busey make up. He lets Busey go. And I didn't bring up the best part. Once they get out of that boat on land for the first time, they all step off the boat. Gary Busey steps on an actual alligator before he hits land. It is amazing. And it doesn't even shake him.
Actually, the best scene that we've skipped over is the washing of the hands scene at the factory or the machinery, where they have like these community hand washing things where all the water's. Wait, you don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't even remember it.
At the beginning of the movie,
I do remember the beginning.
Like, okay, so like, they're clocking out, they're high-fiving, that dude's being carried on some dude's shoulder because I guess they hate their job and leaving every day is a celebratory event. They're getting ready to welcome Harry or whatever, and they're in the restroom, and there's this community, like all of these like hand-washing kiosks where water runs out of them constantly, and everyone's just washing their hand as like a bunch of pals, and they're hooping and hollering like they just won the Super Bowl. God dog it, Ronnie. That was a great scene.
I'm sorry. I know I saw all the celebrating, but I just didn't pay any attention to the washing of the hands. Going back to, okay, they concoct a plan where they're going to set off 2 explosions and distract people, and they're going to Corey and Jack are going to break Harry out, and Biff Tannen's going to stay after and be the guy that's going to shoot everybody on the way.
Is Jack Glenn Frey?
No, Jack is Gary Busey.
Got you. Oh, yeah. What's his last name? What's Jack's last name?
I can't remember.
Right,
Abernathy.
That's nice. Yes. Yes, fantastic work. That's why people listen to ATG and AT. We have all the facts.
Vince and Bob kill everybody.
Yes.
They're like a perfect shot during this big fight scene at the end of it. They set up these explosions.
Which are rigged up pretty well, by the way. Like the cigarette that when it drops, everything's going to explode.
Gary Busey, being the hunting expert, breaks out the blow dart to pop somebody in the watchtower, gets them right on the neck, and they fall out of there.
Yes.
It's great. He's now using a shotgun. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, who are these guys, or which of these guys are going to die? Because right off the bat, Cokehead, I figure Spence the Cokehead, I figure he's going to die. And he was going to have some kind of moment where he, serves himself up. He sacrifices himself to save the guys, because there's multiple times in the movie he goes, oh man, look at all that blow.
I thought he was totally going to go Chris Farley and Jack Black. Jesus, they're interchangeable. Jack Black. God, Chris Farley's been dead for so long.
I did too. I thought he was going to go Jack Black.
I thought he was going to do a Jack Black in Tropic Thunder, where the cocaine gets him and he can't finish the mission. But that's not really what happens.
No, I thought he was going to hit the bump off that cocaine, and then he was going to take care of 50 of them. He's going to be super strength.
Opposite way, he's super strength. So
I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so that means Bob, aka Biff Tannen, he's going to have to sacrifice himself too, because he's the sole reason Robert Duvall is dead.
Right.
Because he's an idiot and he freaked out and he froze.
You want an even trade off in your movie.
Yes, his redeeming moment for causing a real man to die is he's going to sacrifice himself to save his buddies. Yeah. Neither happened. Everybody's on the boat at the end, except the one person I didn't think was going to die, which is Gary Busey, who gives the great line, I'm going to put you on a stick, before Pablo Escobar shoots him in the chest and kills him clean right there.
Yep. And then Busey goes out killing more of them as he goes. He really comes off as a pretty big hero here, even though his whole shtick is he's the used car salesman.
He's the shyster. You were absolutely right at the beginning of this review. Every one of these characters are flawed in some way, and at the same time, they're very redeemable and pure human beings, really good people. Everybody knew that Spence was on coke. If you go back to the beginning of the movie, the guy asked him after he comes out of the bathroom, "Still got that cold, huh?"
That was a pretty good line. I'm going to start using that. I just got to find some friends who use cocaine.
And later in the jungle, he takes a bump right there in front of everybody. And they're like, "What are you doing with that stuff, man?"
It's weird that he brought Blow to the mission to like get the drug lord. Like that is kind of messed up. Dude, I'll tell you what though. None of the stuff that we're talking about is like forced or comes off as disingenuous. Like you totally feel a certain way about each of these guys, and they didn't spend a ton of time to set this up. This is a really well done movie, and I am astonished that it didn't do better. Like it's, as far as just straight up movie goes, this is one of the best movies we've ever covered. Like it's a straight up legit great movie. Everyone should see this movie.
This movie has every reason to be terrible, but every actor in this movie, the old cliche, gave it 150%.
It's crazy. It's
Therefore,
crazy how they pulled this from being a just a stupid plot to, wow, that was really good. Even the end scene where Harry comes in and they're finally having the welcome home Harry party. Like none of that was hokey. Like it was deep felt, and you're like, yes, this is the emotional payoff to all of this. Like
how about Kurt showing up to this party after bailing on him?
Dude, Slider, and he's standing off because he's embarrassed, and Harry, being freaking great Mark Harmon, like looks at him and gives him like, the dude almost looks straight up like Tom Cruise when he smiles. Like it's really weird. Like you could have done, I feel like we missed out on an 80s movie where two brothers, Tom Cruise and Mark Harmon, like do some crap. I don't know what they would have done, but it would have been
great. That would have been great. So that's Let's Get Harry.
That is Let's Get Harry. Instead of Tom Cruise, we got the Vision Quest dude.
It doesn't matter. Let's Get Harry. I agree with you. One of the better movies that we did. 8 out of 10 on the Macho Theater rating. Great
9 out
villain.
of 10.
You got 9 out of 10. Great villain. Great cast, great hero, Mark Harmon, 8 out of 10.
9 out of 10 because this isn't a movie where the main character's sidekicks are there to provide some sort of like comic relief, or one's the Stone Cold Killer, or one's the whatever. These guys are so good. The guy who's supposed to be the main character is not the main character. Like every single person in this movie steals their scenes, and it's fantastic.
I don't think we actually said just how great of a job Robert Duvall did, but he was good too.
It's weird.
Really good.
It's weird how Robert Duvall moves, because he's the most playing it straight actor in this whole movie. Like this had to have been super easy for him. All he has to do is show up and read lines. But when he dies, it totally changes the movie in such a way where you're like, wow, that's a really important scene. Like that's a legit deep oh crap moment.
And those guys suffered not one bit because they kept rocking and rolling after he died. They were not lost. They came up with a plan. They showed up, they shot, they killed everybody, they got the heck out of there.
This was a good call by you, Ronnie. Usually when you change movies 10 times before we actually do one of these things, I get frustrated. Not this time. Totally redeemed yourself.
All right. Well, this is our YouTube premiere right here. You guys can go back through our archives and check all the old Macho Theaters out. Tim, thank you. Everybody subscribe, like, share, all that stuff, and we'll see you guys next time.
Make your own deal.